My elder sister and I are twins. In a past life, she was forced apart from her beloved and wasted her days within palace walls. I, however, reaped the benefits of her fate and married the one I cherished. Then, an unexpected turn of events occurred. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back before the imperial match was to be bestowed. I was the first to kneel before our parents. Your daughter wishes to marry the third prince. My sister stood frozen in place. I lowered my head. This time, I must venture into the den of dragons and tigers. I only hope my sister won't suffer so much anymore. My sister sneaked out again. The eldest daughter of the chancellor's household, raised with strict propriety, had always been quiet and reserved. Yet she blossomed into liveliness because of one person. The young master of the minister's household, that idle, uneducated playboy, Pei Huai. He took my sister kite flying. He took my sister to sample every street food. He took my sister to see the mountains and rivers. Then he told my sister he was fond of her. My sister blushed shyly, unable to speak. The chancellor's household had no sons. Only my sister and me. 2 daughters. She was once groomed to be the future matriarch of the household. And beyond that, even destined for the position of empress. If she couldn't attain that place second only to the emperor, she would have to marry a son-in-law. But in my previous life, my sister became empress. With the family's foundation solidified, there was no need to seek a son-in-law. My beloved and I were happily wed, destined to be one heart, one soul, for all eternity. My sister, however, hardened her heart and cast aside that young nobleman who had shown her a different kind of life. Alone within those palace walls that devoured souls without mercy, she wasted away her entire life. I rushed to her side as she lay dying. Clutching my hand, her voice trembled. I've never been happy since I entered the palace gates. I lived my entire life for others. I don't want to be so weary in the next life. I wept uncontrollably. During the vigil, a candle fell onto the curtains. In the swirling smoke, I lost consciousness. When I opened my eyes, I was back before the imperial matchmaking ceremony. It was the day my sister was caught sneaking out. Father and mother sat in the front hall, their faces devoid of any smile. I stood to the side, clutching the hem of my robe. My sister knelt in the center, her cheeks gaunt, refusing to admit fault or bow her head. Mother's tone was reproachful. Ching, tell me, if this gets out, how will you and I ever marry? Father snorted coldly. The emperor's selection is imminent. Do not cause trouble. Born into the chancellor's household, you cannot act as you please. Qing, you are the elder sister. You know what you must do. Father left those words behind, taking mother's hand as they walked out. Left standing alone, I watched my eldest sister lower her head after their backs disappeared. Then, large tears began to fall onto the floor. Suddenly, I remembered, in my previous life, sister hadn't cried at this moment. She had merely bowed her head meekly. Ching, I understand. Then, under my worried gaze, she ruffled my hair. This is the responsibility of the eldest daughter. When my sister finally lifted her head, our eyes met. Her gaze remained gentle. Yet through her eyes, I saw the sorrow she had carried in her final moments of the previous life. My sister was not happy at all. I stepped forward and took her hand. Sister patted my hand reassuringly. Don't be afraid. There will always be a way. Sister will make sure IU is always happy. But sister, IU wants you to be happy too. Father said the imperial decree granting the marriage will arrive today. It's with the third prince, Yuan Hao, who is currently at the height of his influence. Sunlight warmed the courtyard, but the eunuch's voice was sharp. Just like in my past life, the edict didn't name anyone. It only mentioned the daughter of the chancellor's household. Father and mother received the edict. After dismissing the outsiders, they took me and sister to the study. Ching ching. The future of the chancellor's household rests on your shoulders. The moment the words fell, I knelt first, bowing to my parents. Your daughter willingly marries the third prince. My elder sister stood frozen in place. I lowered my head. Father, I said coyly. Au can go too. Au has long admired the third prince. Mother seized my hand. Au, think carefully. That is no good match. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my elder sister's back straighten. Her lips pressed tightly together. How could I not sense it? As fellow young ladies, she alone must bear the honor and disgrace of the chancellor's household. I, however, could grow up carefree, without too many burdens to weigh on my mind. Yet I did not live a life of idleness. I mastered all the skills expected of a young lady from a distinguished family. Stepping beside my elder sister, I slipped my arm through hers. Sister, from now on, father and mother are in your care. The usually composed Shinqing let out a sob. How could I not understand? She too had returned from rebirth. She wanted to be selfish just once, yet it would shatter the happiness of the sister she had always cherished. I patted her shoulder. Sister, don't cry. I've known good times. Leaning close to her ear, I whispered, the young master sent you osmanthus cakes from that shop south of the city. Her face flushed instantly. Walking to the window, I gazed at the boldly blooming begonia flowers outside. This time, I must venture into the den of dragons and tigers. I only hope my sister won't suffer so much anymore. On the wedding day, the mansion was filled with festive cheer. Sister watched me don the bridal gown, her eyes brimming with tears. Are you truly going through with this? My usually proper sister suddenly blurted out. Why not let me marry instead? Silence. I shut the window. Sister, everything's already arranged. Are you suddenly changing your mind because the chancellor's household is too crowded? Realizing what she'd said, my sister's face turned pale. I smiled again. Don't worry. I can take care of myself. Under my sister's worried gaze, I left the mansion where I'd lived for over a decade. That night, candles burned brightly. The third Prince Yuan Hao, who should have been drinking the wedding wine, was nowhere to be seen. Only a messenger arrived to announce he wouldn't be returning tonight. So my sister was humiliated on her very first day as a bride. On this day in my past life, the young master sat drunk beneath the chancellor's walls all night. I lay awake in my room. Now, it was my turn to sit here. I lifted my veil myself and summoned attendants to follow. This wedding wine need not be drunk here. Wherever His Highness is, I shall find him to drink it. The messenger dared not speak further, leading the way before me. In the small garden of the mansion, mournful music played. Yuan Hao sat nearby, his gaze lingering. I recognized the woman playing the zither. It was consort Rong. Shui Rong, once the most favored woman in the palace. Adjusting my skirt, I walked toward him. Your Highness, I have come to drink the wedding wine with you. Yuan Hao looked at me, and at that moment, the zither string snapped. Shui Rong rose gracefully and curtsied. Greetings, consort of the third prince. Yuan Hao's voice was sharp. Ronger, I told you long ago, no need for bows. I didn't miss the fleeting smugness in Shui Rong's eyes. Turning to Yuan Hao beside me, I gestured for the attendant holding the wine to step forward. Your Highness, please. Yuan Hao cast a faint glance, his tone displeased. What purpose does drinking serve? It certainly does. I replied with a coy laugh. It serves both your highness and this humble wife. Only after this cup is drunk will your highness truly be wed to this wife. From this day forward, the chancellor's household will be bound to you. Yuan Hao is a clever man, I saw that in my previous life. My elder sister was too gentle-hearted to confront him directly as I did. Naturally, she knew nothing of Shui Rong's existence at first. He feigned affection for my sister, deceiving me and the entire chancellor's household. Later, he married Shui Rong, allowing her to torment my gentle sister. My sister swallowed all her grievances. Only in her final moments did she reveal to me, her younger sister, the depth of her suffering. Recalling this, I snapped back to reality, my gaze settling on Shui Rong, who stood turned away, her eyes brimming with tears. Miss Shui, might I ask if my seeking my husband here offends your eyes? Shui Rong froze for a moment. Yuan Hao's face darkened with displeasure. But before he could speak, I cut him off. Your Highness, would you truly allow an outsider to embarrass the Chancellor's household on our wedding day? I deliberately emphasized the word outsider. Shui Rong shot Yuan Hao a sorrowful glance, but found no comfort in his eyes. Finally, she stomped her foot in shame and anger before storming off. Before leaving, she glared at me hatefully from where Yuan Hao couldn't see. I returned her glare with a smile, then drank the ceremonial wine with Yuan Hao. He set down his cup, observing me with keen interest. Sharp-tongued indeed. Have you satisfied yourself by driving Ronger away? I lowered my head. This humble consort does not understand what your highness speaks of. Then let us consummate our union. Yuan Hao leaned closer. This humble consort is at fault. My monthly period is due within these days. Should it arrive suddenly, it might disturb your highness's refined pleasure. This humble servant shall withdraw. Your highness may proceed as you wish. I curtsied and turned to leave. His gaze lingered on my back like thorns piercing my skin. Only after returning to my chambers did I relax. The faint scent of sandalwood swirled around me, stirring a bitter ache in my heart. Did my elder sister weep when she was alone here? Without a husband to stand behind her, anyone could treat her with contempt. How could I have failed to notice this back then? The next morning, I had to go to the palace for the morning audience. Yuan Hao never delayed official business and was ready to depart early. Entering through the palace gates, we followed the familiar palace walls toward the inner quarters. This wasn't my first time walking this path, but it was my first time doing so in this capacity. At the entrance to Cunning Palace, Yuan Hao halted and greeted someone approaching. Second imperial brother. Just returned to the palace? Following his gaze, I looked at the man and froze in place. He bore the exact likeness of my husband from my previous life. His eyes and brows were perpetually gentle, and anyone who saw him would call him a humble gentleman. Yes. I'll be leaving shortly. The man's gaze shifted to me. This must be the third prince's consort, right? I curtsied and inquired after his highness's well-being. He nodded, then took his leave of Yuan Hao. I feigned casualness. Your highness, how is it that we rarely hear of the second prince? My brother is accustomed to freedom, traveling incognito for years. Yuan Hao's voice was calm. He goes by Yuan Xingji abroad, though his true name is Yuan Heng. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. I knew he was the same person. Those days he vanished for a day or two must have been visits back to the palace. Claim your benefits pushpin WeChat, 1*824*974*2715. Suppressing my wandering thoughts, I followed Yuan Hao into the queen's palace. A familiar, soft, and delicate voice drifted from within. Your Majesty, please stop teasing me. Brother Hao adores Sister Shinyu so much. Yesterday, when the string on my zither snapped, he didn't even show any concern. But that was a gift from you. Yuan Hao cleared his throat and stepped inside first. Shui Rong's cheeks flushed crimson upon seeing Yuan Hao. The Empress summoned me. I turned to the empress and knelt before her. Greetings, mother. The empress's gaze shifted between Yuan Hao and me, but she remained silent. Yuan Hao spoke first. Mother, you didn't rest well yesterday. The figure seated above spoke slowly. Rise. After standing, I obediently positioned myself behind Yuan Hao. I listened as the empress inquired about his recent studies and daily life. Mid-conversation, the empress suddenly changed the subject. You have your principal consort. Mother will select a secondary consort for you. Having you reside outside the palace would also give me greater peace of mind. Oh, Yuan Hao smiled. It seems mother already has someone in mind. What about Ronger? The empress pointed to Shui Rong standing nearby. Your Majesty. Shui Rong called out, flustered and annoyed, drawing the empress's teasing. Ronger is unwilling? Then this palace shall not interfere. As the words fell, Shui Rong knelt on the ground. This humble maiden consents. I understood instantly. Likely, news of our failure to consummate the marriage yesterday had reached the empress's ears. Arranging Yuan Hao's marriage to Shui Rong served two purposes: to send me a warning and to provide Yuan Hao with a suitable companion, a win-win situation. Killing two birds with one stone. But I didn't care. All I could think about was, in 3 days, I could return to the chancellor's residence. In the familiar boudoir, my elder sister and I sat facing each other. She clutched my hand tightly, reluctant to let go. Did His Highness mistreat you? No. I squeezed her hand. But His Highness is taking a secondary consort. What? She sprang to her feet. It doesn't matter. I pulled her back down. Sister, think about it. I'll have no worries about food or clothing. And I'll manage the household. I won't have to serve him either. What a joyful life that will be. Sister said nothing, but her eyes gradually reddened. After a long silence, she spoke, her voice choked with emotion. I shouldn't have let Ayu marry. I've wronged her. Watching my sister's heartbroken expression, I drifted into thought. In my past life, on the day my sister returned for her post-wedding visit, I was overjoyed. I pulled her this way and that, asking questions. All I heard were reassurances that she was fine, that I needn't worry. Nothing like me. Who tells you everything after returning? Seeing my sister's tears welling up, I quickly changed the subject. Sister, where's Pei Huai? My sister, lost in melancholy, snapped back to reality. She pointed a slender finger toward the ceiling. My eyes widened in shock. You actually let Pei Huai eavesdrop? Sister lowered her head shyly. He said he'd block his hearing. Just guarding here. Humph. I scoffed coldly. He's already started deceiving you. Look. He's grinning so hard crumbs from his osmanthus cake are falling off. My sister froze for a moment, then flushed with anger. Her usually soft voice turned sharp. Pei Huai. Get out! Standing nearby, I couldn't suppress the smile tugging at my lips. This vibrant sister of mine still exists. How wonderful. As we left the chancellor's residence, the horizon was already tinged with crimson. Yuan Hao claimed he had business to discuss with someone, but I saw clearly the direction he headed, toward the Shui residence. Probably to discuss marriage arrangements. I rode alone in the carriage back to the quiet residence. The crimson bed curtains remained unchanged. I took out the pastries sister had made for me from the food box. One by one. Red bean cakes. Osmanthus-scented lotus root. Rose-flavored pastries. On the side of the box sat a small bottle of wine. The tiny bottle bore labels with my name and sister's. Qing and Yu. We buried it together beneath the peach tree at home on the day of our coming-of-age ceremony. As she shoveled earth, my elder sister admonished me. Little Yu, you mustn't sneak a sip. We'll share it together when we marry someday. The scent of peach blossoms lingered on my nose. I swallowed hard and nodded. When did we finally drink it in my past life? My sister's marriage came so suddenly that I pushed the matter from my mind. It wasn't until she ascended to the position of empress, on the day consort Rong announced her pregnancy, that she returned to dig up the peach blossom wine. Pulling out the cork, the fragrance of wine filled the air. My sister quickly became intoxicated. She murmured incoherently, and I could only faintly make out her words. It's truly wonderful that consort Rong is with child. Yuan Hao would never visit her palace again. Back then, I thought my sister was babbling drunken nonsense. Only later did I understand that was her deepest wish. She was truly happy. In that vast palace, she could finally find a corner of peace. My thoughts drifted back. I picked up the neatly folded square of paper beside the wine bottle. The elegant handwriting was my sister's. If you're unhappy, tell your sister. I'll take you home anytime. I smiled, then folded the paper and placed it on the candle flame. I let the flames consume it. My sister still didn't trust me. Even after we argued the day I received the imperial decree, when I told her I'd do better than her. I won't waste myself away in the palace. I promised. And only then did she agree. But today, all day long, deep, unshakable regret lingered in my sister's eyes. She still fears that little Iu will end up like she did in her past life, withered away in that deep palace. On the day Shui Rong married in, a light snow fell. The maids wanted to help me to the front hall, but I stopped them. There's no need. His Highness won't have consort Shui pay her respects to me. Sure enough, by the time the front hall fell silent, no one had summoned me. That night, I slept deeply. The next morning, I overheard the servants whispering. The courtyard of the consort's quarters had its water changed several times. In the morning, Yuan Hao, concerned Shui Rong might be exhausted, delayed the hour for paying respects at the palace. When the two returned at noon, they were followed by a substantial amount of gifts. At that moment, I was watering flowers in the small garden. For convenience, I had changed into a plain, light-colored silk skirt, and my loose hair was gathered into a bun. The instant Yuan Hao and I locked eyes, I saw a fleeting look of astonishment in his gaze. Shui Rong, standing nearby, took his arm. Brother Hao, what's so fascinating about these flowers and plants? Let's hurry back to my courtyard. I'll show you the hairpin Mother Empress bestowed upon me. Yuan Hao's gaze shifted to her, his expression filled with indulgence. As you wish. Just as they were about to leave, a servant hurried over to announce, Your Highness, the second prince has arrived. He says he's here to present a wedding gift and is waiting in the front hall. The second prince? Yuan Hao turned abruptly, then called for me and Shui Rong to follow. Quickly. Keep up. Shui Rong trod cautiously behind Yuan Hao. I lagged 3 steps behind them. Reaching the front hall entrance, I paused, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The moment I looked up, I saw Yuan Hao standing at the center. The fair-faced youth, hands behind his back, was examining a painting hung on the wall. Hearing the sound, he turned, his expression gentle. Third brother, I've come bearing a congratulatory gift. Your Highness, you're being too formal, Yuan Hao said, taking the box Yuan Hao offered and opening it. Standing beside Yuan Hao, I saw the contents of the box and clutched my sleeve tightly. That night, Yuan Hao stayed in Shui Rong's room as usual. Leaning against the window, I fiddled with the gift Yuan Hao had given. It was a jade hairpin, cool and smooth to the touch. It was simple yet elegant. Alongside it was a vibrant crabapple blossom, given to Shui Rong. She always favored such vivid, brilliant colors. What surprised me was that this hairpin had also been given to me in my previous life. Only, he had presented it to me privately, before we discussed marriage. Back then, Yuan Hao had personally pinned the hairpin into my bun. After examining it for a long while, he said, "It truly suits you. After all these twists and turns, this hairpin has found its way back to me in this lifetime." Turning around, I placed the hairpin in my hair before the mirror. The girl reflected back smiled softly, a tenderness reserved only for her elder sister and Yuan Hao. Even when Yuan Hao once asked if I felt any regret that he had no parents, I merely lowered my head. "As long as I marry you, nothing else matters." Later, Yuan Hao and I walked hand in hand through the streets and alleys of the capital. Then we journeyed to places even farther away. Coming to my senses, I removed the hairpin and placed it in my trousseau chest. Perhaps my previous life was too filled with happiness. Now, meeting without recognition, that must be the price. As the seasons turned, a year after I married into the third prince's household, Yuan Hao was proclaimed crown prince. Soon after, noble families began sending brides to Yuan Hao, hoping to make an impression upon the crown prince. The empress paid it no mind, only urging Yuan Hao to expand his family line swiftly. I didn't mind either. A year into our marriage, Yuan Hao had never once spent the night in my chambers. But someone else did. Shui Rong had been refusing food for 2 days. She even pulled Yuan Hao aside in the mansion, her eyes brimming with tears. "Brother Hao, I beg you, don't take any more wives. Isn't having me enough?" I said nothing, slipping away quietly. Shui Rong was a clever girl, but she loved Yuan Hao too deeply. Jealousy was never a virtue. Yuan Hao was destined to ascend to that throne. With 3,000 concubines in the harem, Yuan Hao couldn't possibly keep only her. Prolonged tantrums would only invite weariness and prove counterproductive. It would be more effective to subtly hint at grievances at the right moment. But this was for the best. When new women entered the mansion, I would only need to watch quietly. Others would naturally temper her. Within 3 days, Yuan Hao took in 2 new women. Having just ascended to the position of crown prince, he dared not take only daughters of officials. But they weren't commoners either. One concubine was connected to the Minister of Right's household, Pei Qing, a distant cousin of Pei Huai. The other secondary consort was Song Shi, the legitimate daughter of the Grand Tutor's family. She and my elder sister were known as the twin beauties of the capital. Shui Rong couldn't contain herself. On the very first day the two entered the palace, she gave them a taste of her power. But she was merely the empress's cousin. She had nothing but Yuan Hao's affection to draw upon. And love, one day, would run dry. Pei Qing conceived 2 months after her marriage. The maid who brought me this news couldn't hide her schadenfreude. "Princess consort." You should have seen consort Rong's expression. She nearly gnashed her teeth to dust. My gaze swept over her, and she instantly knelt on the floor. This servant spoke out of turn. "This shall not happen again." I turned my gaze to the window. Truthfully, Shui Rong wasn't inherently evil. She simply loved Yuan Hao too deeply. But in her past life, she should never have whispered into Yuan Hao's ear. It led Yuan Hao to send Pei Huai, a scholar, to the battlefield to fight, where he ultimately lost his life. That was the most heartbreakingly fierce crying I ever saw from my elder sister. During a visit home to see our parents, she shed her usual mask of strength for the first time in front of me. Why do you think I kept the amulet Ahui gave me back then?" It was so Shui Rong would discover Pei Qing had an identical one, leading him to guess the connection between Ahui and me. I ruined Ahui. He should have had a loving wife and beautiful concubines, living a peaceful life. I couldn't comfort my sister then, but I knew she would never be happy again. From that day on, my ever-kind sister changed. The smile that had always graced her face vanished. She increasingly took on the bearing befitting an empress. Yet despite her transformation, she committed but one wrong. When other consorts conceived but lost their children, she schemed to frame Shui Rong for the crime. Plotting against the imperial heir was a grave crime. Yet Shui Rong was merely demoted in rank. That day, heavy snow fell from the sky. My sister stood in the courtyard of the queen's palace, gazing at the vast expanse of white as tears fell. Ah, why? Don't despise me for my cruelty. That girl had inhaled musk for far too long. She was never meant to keep the child. Only when the snow began to ease did my sister turn to look at me. You? Am I truly so cruel? I wrapped my arms around her shoulders with practiced familiarity. You're not cruel. Sister. You're the best sister. That Pei Qing would come seeking my protection was entirely expected. After all, she was the weakest among the 4 women in the mansion now. After she explained her purpose, I smiled. Why not seek the crown prince's protection? How could you possibly think I could protect you? Pei Qing lowered her head, her face pale. Princess consort, if you could protect me and help me deliver the child safely, I could entrust the child to your care. Oh, my smile widened slightly. Even if I didn't protect you, the child would still be raised here. The next moment, my smile faded. But this child, you might not be able to keep it. She abruptly knelt on the ground. This servant was presumptuous. I helped her up, suddenly understanding my elder sister's past feelings. So I agreed. I can protect you. But if I fail, do not blame me. And you must promise me, if anything truly happens, remember to pin the blame squarely on consort Rong. Don't worry about evidence, that's my concern. Can you promise? Pei Qing's eyes instantly filled with tears. Then she nodded. I promise. I'll remember. Having lived too long under my elder sister's protection, my former home knew none of these scheming, sordid affairs. My cunning still fell short of Shui Rong's. It was only after I returned to the chancellor's residence to stay with my elder sister for half a day. Before I could return, envoys from the crown prince's residence arrived, announcing an emergency at the mansion. When I rushed back, Pei Qing lay motionless on the bed, tears still clinging to her lashes. Seeing me enter, she struggled to rise and kneel in greeting. I stopped her, and she cried out hoarsely. It was consort Rong. She did this to me. I encountered her in the garden, and when I went to the riverbank to view the lotus flowers, her senior maid pushed me in. I drew a deep breath and issued my order. Consort Rong is confined to her quarters. The matter shall be discussed upon His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's return. After everyone dispersed, a maid slipped a note into my hand. Unfolding it, I saw neat, delicate handwriting. Seize that maid. She'll implicate Shui Rong. Tossing the note into the candle flame, I glared at the attendant. Now you're even relaying messages for my elder sister. Though my words were sharp, a faint warmth stirred within me. Even after I married into this family, my elder sister still plotted on my behalf. She wanted to pave a smooth path for me. Just as the flames consumed the note, a servant arrived with news. Yuan Hao had returned from the palace. Events unfolded more smoothly than I'd anticipated. It had been Shui Rong's idea all along. The early planning was merely to prevent servants from protecting their master and refusing to admit anything. Now, that senior maid clung stubbornly to Shui Rong, claiming her master had ordered her to do it. Shui Rong's desperate denials fell on deaf ears. This was Yuan Hao's first child. Upon learning the news, the empress flew into a terrible rage. She ordered Shui Rong confined to her quarters for half a year. Even Yuan Hao's pleas on her behalf proved futile. During those 6 months, Pei Qing's tender attentions drew Yuan Hao to spend many nights in her courtyard. Before long, more good news arrived. This time, without Shui Rong lurking menacingly, Pei Qing felt much more at ease. By the time her confinement ended, The child's condition had stabilized. Moreover, after this ordeal, she dared not attempt anything again. Likely, the empress had also issued her a warning. On the day of delivery, Yuan Hao lost his usual composure, pacing restlessly outside, until a cry echoed from within. The midwife emerged immediately to announce the joyous news. "It's a little prince." "Good," Yuan Hao responded before turning to me. "The young prince shall be raised under your care." I gave a slight nod but declined. "Let him be placed with consort she. Your servant's learning cannot compare to consort she's." Yuan Hao pondered for a moment before agreeing. "Very well." This had been arranged long ago with Pei Qing, who was also willing. Song Shi accepted it too. A few days later, my elder sister came to visit Pei Qing. When she later came to my courtyard, I told her about it. Under her indulgent gaze, I couldn't help but mutter a curse. "He wants me to help him raise a child? He's dreaming." My elder sister's finger tapped my forehead. You're still like a child who never grew up." "Indeed. I can't compare to Song Shi." I leaned against my elder sister's shoulder, no longer angry. "You and Song Shi? That's mutual admiration. When you praise her, I don't get upset. I just want to be your obedient little sister." 3 years after marrying into the crown prince's household, the emperor's health began to deteriorate. Yuan Hao grew increasingly preoccupied. With the addition of the young prince, he grew somewhat distant from Shui Rong. She ultimately reaped what she sowed. Under my influence, Yuan Hao's indulgence toward her was swiftly exhausted. What she believed to be true love was merely Yuan Hao's passing fancy. The imperial family has always been ruthless. How could they favor just one person? After losing favor, Shui Rong rarely ventured out, with Pei Qing and Song Shi managing household affairs. I found myself unexpectedly idle. When boredom set in, I simply donned men's attire, pulled a hood over my head, and scaled the wall to escape. Wandering aimlessly, I ended up in a street alley. There stood a wonton shop that had been open for many years. There was someone who loved eating there. Perhaps by luck, halfway through my meal, someone sat down and called the waiter. A bowl of chicken soup wontons. I looked up at the man. It was Yuan Hao. He must have sensed my gaze, for he looked at me. Our eyes met, and I hastily lowered my head. He was the one who spoke first. "From the third prince's household?" I hesitated briefly before nodding. The household's garments bore distinctive markings, no wonder he recognized them. "I serve the crown princess. Our mistress permitted us to go out for a stroll." He nodded, then began discussing literary and cultural travelogues. These were topics we'd conversed about before, so our chat grew increasingly animated. When we parted, he seemed reluctant to end the conversation, even arranging a time for our next meeting. In my free time, I often disguised myself as a man to cruise the river and chat with Yuan Hao. Until one day, he came to the crown prince's residence demanding someone back. He claimed a servant had become quite compatible with him and hoped I could bear to part with her. I hastily refused. She had left just 2 days prior, returning to her hometown in Jiangnan. Yuan Hao never meddled in the affairs of the inner quarters and harbored no suspicions. After Yuan Hao left, I stood in the courtyard, clenching my fists. Though our paths were not meant to cross in this lifetime, I was grateful to heaven for granting me this fleeting joy. It was enough to comfort me for a lifetime. I had barely turned to leave when Yuan Hao called out to me again. "Come with me to the palace. Father is near death." The funeral bells tolled. The entire nation mourned. After the emperor's passing, the empress followed him in death. As crown princess, I led the mourners in keeping vigil within the palace. Only after both were interred in the imperial mausoleum did I return to the crown prince's residence. That night, I had a long, drawn-out dream. I was in my elder sister's funeral hall. Raging flames consumed everything. After I suffocated, my sister, who should have been dead, struggled painfully out of her coffin. She rushed toward me in panic. Ayue. Ayue. I saw the elegant woman lift me up, crying and calling for help. Someone! Help! Save her! Her voice grew fainter with each cry, choked by smoke until she coughed violently. Finally, she collapsed, defeated, onto the floor. How could I have forgotten? I was the one who had everyone sent away. I thought feigning death would let me escape. After plotting so long, I forgot. How could Ayu ever leave this place? She would always stay by my side. Ayu. Sister is sorry. Sister will stay with you. The flames grew fiercer. Outside, I could hear people coming to fight the fire. But it was already too late. My sister lay with me on the floor, humming the lullaby mother used to sing us as children. Her voice grew fainter and fainter. I watched her hold me tightly, until the flames engulfed us both. I awoke from the dream before dawn. I lit the candle on the table and sat back down on the bed. Everything came together, piece by piece. Her dazed expression when receiving the imperial decree, her reluctance on my wedding day, her scheming when plotting against Shui Rong. It turned out my sister knew everything. Only when the first light of dawn broke did I come to my senses. Prepare the carriage. We're going to the Chancellor's residence. The garden where my sister and I once played together still filled the air with the fragrance of flowers. She had kept it meticulously tended. She approached with a small iron shovel, walked to the base of a tree, and dug up a jar of wine. After opening it, she leaned close to the jar and took a sniff. So fragrant. I sat silently at the round table nearby. When my sister poured me a cup of wine, I tilted my head back and drank it down. Only then did I find the courage to ask. Sister, you didn't die in the last life, did you? The gentle tears fell from my sister's eyes the moment my words ended. I didn't mean to. I was so desperate to escape that place. I forgot how much it would hurt you to know. But I couldn't let anyone find out. I feared it would ruin everything. That I'd never be able to leave. And now, with this second chance, I'm sorry. I was selfish. Her hurried words were cut off. Sister, I don't blame you. I mainly wanted to ask, what are your next steps? You must have prepared something for me, right? You couldn't bear to let me fall into such a den of tigers and dragons. Her pale fingers tapped my forehead. You've grown clever now. You've seen right through me. Sister pulled a pill from the pouch she carried. Take it. You won't escape the Crown Prince's residence. It's sparsely guarded, and all the guards are his trusted men. I can't arrange anything there. But once you reach the palace, I've already made arrangements. I've discussed it with the Grand Tutor and Songshi. After you leave the palace, both the Chancellor's residence and the Minister of Right's residence will petition to have Songshi crowned empress. Before that, you must take the fake death potion when you leave. Someone will be waiting to help you escape. As she spoke, Sister dipped her finger in wine and sketched a rough route on the square table. I memorized it carefully. By late morning, I bid Sister farewell. Sister, thank you for planning all this for me. Sister ruffled my hair. Silly you. It's my fault for not protecting you better. Besides, I promised long ago to always watch over you. My eyes suddenly stung with tears. That childhood promise had endured for so many years. Though we were twins, she arrived slightly before me and took on the responsibilities of the eldest sister. I always believed I saved her in this life. Little did I know that the freedom I longed for would ultimately be granted by her. Before the coronation preparations began, the household of the Crown Prince gradually moved into the palace. What surprised me was that when Yuan Hao assigned titles and fiefs, he granted Shui Rong only the title of consort. even though she had once been married as a secondary consort. Pei Qing had given birth to a prince, and Song Shi, being the daughter of the Grand Tutor, was naturally granted the title of consort. As the former crown princess, I was rightfully crowned empress. On the day I moved into Cunning Palace, I dismissed all my attendants. A single maid was sufficient. Yuan Hao never interfered in my affairs. Even earlier, when I sought to hand over the imperial seal to Consort Shi, he tacitly approved. After everything had settled, Consort Shi and Consort Pei came together to Cunning Palace. By then, Consort Shi was also with child. Consort Pei looked on with envy, drawing a playful laugh from Consort Shi. When I go into labor, there won't be enough hands to care for both of us. You'd better take Ah Hung away on your own initiative. Pei Qing's eyes sparkled with unrestrained joy. Thank you, sister. I smiled at them both, unable to resist adding a few more words of advice. Many new sisters will join us in time. You must always support one another. Song Shi understood my meaning and nodded in agreement. Pei Qing leaned in coquettishly. Your Highness, aren't you here to protect us? I didn't respond, meeting Song Shi's gaze before quickly looking away. My heart was filled with uncontrollable anticipation. It was almost time. In the 16th year of Yuan Hao, the crown prince ascended the throne. That same year, tragedy struck unexpectedly. A fire broke out in Cunning Palace, claiming the empress's life. Then tell my elder sister that he has feelings for her. 3 months later, upon the petition of Chancellor Shen and Minister Pei, the emperor decreed that after the mourning period, Consort Shi would be elevated to empress. That same day, the chancellor's residence and the minister's residence exchanged betrothal documents. Pei Huai would later marry into the chancellor's family. At this very moment, I was already in Jiangnan. 3 more years passed. While watering flowers, I heard someone knocking at the door. Opening it, I found my elder sister and Pei Huai standing outside. Behind them, someone called my name, Ayu. I followed the voice. It was Yuan Hao. His smile was warm, his expression gentle, just as it had been when we first met in my previous life. The end.